Getting a check engine light when your car feels like it is running perfectly fine is incredibly frustrating, especially when your scanner spits out a cryptic code like P2A01, telling you there is a range or performance issue with the oxygen sensor on bank 1 sensor 2. Bank 1 is simply the side of your engine block that houses the number 1 cylinder, and sensor 2 means we are looking at the downstream oxygen sensor located behind your catalytic converter. To understand why this code triggers, you need to know that these sensors are basically tiny chemical generators. They use a zirconium dioxide element and platinum electrodes to compare the amount of oxygen inside your hot exhaust pipe against the ambient air outside. As oxygen ions rush back and forth inside the sensor, they create a small voltage. Now, the front sensor before the catalytic converter is supposed to constantly fluctuate as the engine computer rapidly adjusts the air-to-fuel ratio, but that rear sensor has a completely different job. Its only purpose is to act as a strict inspector to make sure the catalytic converter is actually cleaning up the exhaust gases. If things are working right, that downstream voltage signal should be incredibly smooth and steady. When the computer sees that the sensor 2 voltage is wildly bouncing around or completely falling outside of its expected normal range, it throws this code. However, you should never blindly replace the oxygen sensor without doing a visual inspection first. Because these wires live right next to the blazing hot exhaust pipes, it is extremely common for the wiring harness to melt against a heat shield or chafe against a sharp edge, creating a direct short to ground. Also, if you have any other codes for engine misfires or vacuum leaks, you absolutely must fix those first, because an engine that is running terribly will dump raw fuel and extra air into the exhaust, throwing off the sensor readings and faking a bad sensor. Finally, if you recently installed a cheap aftermarket catalytic converter, be warned that they often do not clean the exhaust efficiently enough, which will repeatedly trigger this exact same performance code.